Eleanor Hastings was used to late nights in her glass-walled corner office overlooking downtown Chicago. As chief legal officer of a powerful tech firm, she often worked long after the city lights flickered on, reviewing contracts and disputes that shaped millions of lives. The office at night felt different, quiet, reflective, almost honest. That was when she noticed him for the first time, the night janitor, Garrett Sullivan. He moved silently through the halls, tall, broad-shouldered, always keeping his head down. Eleanor barely registered him until the night she saw him slip into the restricted archives room with a black duffel bag. At first, her instinct screamed corporate espionage. The archives held sensitive data, old patents, sealed legal cases, and records that could destroy competitors if leaked. Eleanor watched through the glass walls as Garrett checked the hallway, then disappeared inside. Her pulse quickened. She shut down her laptop, slipped off her heels, and followed quietly. Years of courtroom battles had sharpened her sense of danger. She imagined headlines, lawsuits, and betrayal. When she reached the archive's door, she hesitated only a moment before swiping her access card and stepping inside, ready to confront him. The sight stopped her cold. Garrett wasn't stealing documents. He was kneeling on the floor beside a rolling cart, carefully laying out yellowed files and fragile boxes. A small desk lamp illuminated his focused face. He looked startled when he saw her, standing up so fast the lamp wobbled. Eleanor demanded to know what he was doing. His eyes held fear, but not guilt. He explained quietly that he wasn't stealing anything. He was cataloging, restoring, and photographing damaged records, work no one had asked him to do. He said these files mattered more than anyone realized. Eleanor didn't believe him at first. She demanded proof. Garrett reached into the duffel bag and pulled out photographs, high-resolution images of documents dating back decades. He explained that before becoming a janitor, he'd been an investigative journalist. Years earlier, he'd uncovered evidence linking major corporations to environmental crimes. His reporting threatened powerful interests. A lawsuit buried him, his reputation destroyed. Unable to find work, drowning in debt, he took whatever job he could. But he never stopped caring about truth. When he discovered neglected archives filled with forgotten cases, he felt compelled to protect them. As Eleanor listened, her anger faded into confusion. Garrett showed her a file from the 1990s involving a chemical spill in Ohio. The case had been quietly settled, victims silenced, evidence sealed. The documents revealed falsified reports and bribed officials. Eleanor recognized the names. Some were now board members, donors, untouchable figures. Her stomach tightened. She had defended companies like these, trusted systems built on law and order. Garrett said the records were deteriorating. He feared they would be lost forever. So he worked at night, unpaid, preserving them before they disappeared. Eleanor told him he was risking prison. He nodded, saying some risks were worth taking. He spoke about the families affected by poisoned water, children born sick, towns abandoned. His voice cracked, not with self-pity, but anger at injustice. Eleanor felt something shift inside her. She had entered law believing she'd protect people. Somewhere along the way, she'd begun protecting institutions instead. Looking at Garrett, she realized he was doing the work she'd convinced herself was impossible. She asked him how many files he'd copied. He said, enough to change everything. Over the next few nights, Eleanor didn't go home. She stayed, reading. Together they sifted through decades of buried truths, corporate cover-ups, illegal surveillance, bribery. Eleanor saw her own firm's name appear more than once. The weight of it pressed on her chest. Garrett never pushed her. He simply worked, precise and patient. Eleanor began bringing him coffee, then dinner. Trust grew in the quiet hours. She asked why he hadn't sold the information. He said truth shouldn't be sold. It should be set free, even if no one thanks you for it. Eventually, Eleanor made a decision that terrified her. She contacted an old friend at the Department of Justice, carefully, anonymously at first. She shared a single document. The response was immediate. Federal investigators moved quietly, issuing sealed warrants. Eleanor resigned from her position before the news broke, citing personal reasons. The board was shocked. Garrett warned her she was burning her life down. She replied that maybe it needed burning. For the first time in years, she slept peacefully, despite knowing what was coming. The story exploded across national media. Congressional hearings followed. CEOs were arrested. Entire divisions shut down. Whistleblower protections shielded Garrett. Though his past lawsuit was reopened, his name cleared. Eleanor testified openly, admitting her role in enabling silence. She became both praised and condemned. Some called her a hero. Others called her a traitor. She accepted both. Garrett moved out of the shadows, publishing again, this time with full backing. His articles carried weight because they were backed by undeniable proof and a woman willing to stand beside him. Months later, Eleanor stood in a small nonprofit office overlooking a different part of the city. The glass walls were gone, replaced by brick and sunlight. She now worked with victims seeking justice, using her legal expertise to undo harm she once helped hide. Garrett often stopped by, dropping off research or just sharing coffee. They didn't talk much about the night everything changed. They didn't need to. The city outside buzzed as always, unaware of how close it had come to forgetting its own truths. One evening, as the sun set over Chicago, Eleanor walked past her old building. Lights glowed in the corner office that used to be hers. She felt no regret. She thought about how easily she'd assumed guilt when she saw a janitor with a duffel bag. How power had blinded her to quiet courage. The world hadn't been turned upside down that night, she realized. It had been set right. And sometimes, justice didn't come from those in glass towers, but from those who cleaned their floors after dark.